How's it going, everyone? I'm Landon with LMR.com. In today's video, I'm going to be showing all of you how to remove and how to install aftermarket differential covers for your 8.8 solid axle equipped Mustang. This video will cover the basic installation steps for 7.5 and 8.8 solid axle forward rear ends. While the independent rear suspension setup from the 1999 to 2004 Cobras have a similar 8.8 differential housing, a few of the steps are going to be different. I am going to be using one of our SVE differential covers for this install, along with a lube locker gasket. Prior to removing and installing a diff cover, make sure you have adequate tools such as a good socket set and a 3/8 drive torque wrench. Of course, don't forget the obvious: shop towels, quality brake clean, and the correct weight and amount of gear fluid for your application. To get started, safely support the car with jack stands or a lift. If you're working off of jack stands, try and get the car as high and as safe as you can. Before continuing, make sure that you can fully remove the factory fill plug. Also, depending on the year of your Mustang, it may help if you remove the sway bar on 1979 to 2004 Mustangs, or the panhard bar and the sway bar for 2005 to 2014 cars. Removing these components will allow for additional workroom, and it's going to make life a little bit easier for you. Loosen and remove all the differential cover bolts, except for the top one. Position a drain pan underneath the rear end. Use a flathead screwdriver to separate the cover from the housing. You may have to pry the cover from multiple areas. Whenever the cover has been separated from the housing, hold it open a few seconds to allow some of the fluid to drain out. Now you can loosen and remove the top bolt. Of course, make sure you hold the cover with one free hand, that way it doesn't just fall off. Go ahead and set the cover aside. Use a few towels and wipe any fluid that has settled at the bottom of the housing. Before you clean the mating surface, cover the rear end components with some towels. First, use a gasket scraper and remove the old RTV silicone. With the old silicone removed, go ahead and scuff the surface with a general purpose scuff pad. Wipe the surface down with a towel and some quality brake clean, and then run your finger over the surface to ensure that it is smooth. Now that the surface is smooth, flush out the bolt holes with brake cleaner or compressed air. Remove the towels covering the rear end components, and wipe the mating surface one more time just to make sure it's clean. If your aftermarket cover has bearing cap supports, like ours does, a few extra steps is going to be required. Loosen and remove both of the jam nuts. Back the load bolts all the way out until they bottom out on the underside of the cover. Now you can take the diff cover and align it with the lube locker gasket. The two notches on the gasket will line up with the notches at the bottom of their rear end. If you're going to be using RTV, apply a thin bead of it to the diff cover and make sure you go towards the inside of each bolt hole, not the outside. Slide a bolt through the top hole and then position the cover onto the rear end. Thread the top bolt in by hand just a few turns to hold it in place. Next, I usually thread the bottom bolt in and then install the rest of the bolts working in a clockwise pattern. Run all the bolts down by hand. And then torque each one of them to 20 to 25 pound-feet, working in the pattern shown. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and lastly, bolt number 10. Now you need to apply a Teflon-based thread sealer to the threads on the load bolts. You don't have to apply it to all of the threads, but I would recommend applying it to 4 threads minimum from the face of the cover. Go ahead and tighten the load bolts by hand until they touch the bearing caps. Torque each of these bolts to 5 pound-feet. Reinstall the jam nuts and either hand tighten these or torque them to 10 pound-feet. Now we can fill the housing. Remove the factory fill plug along with the fill plug in the cover if it has one. The royal purple fluid that we currently offer has the friction modifier already in it, and we even include a small bottle of additional friction modifier that can be used as well. Go ahead and cut the tip off of your fluid bottle to accommodate a piece of clear hose that is approximately 6 inches in length. Begin filling the housing with fluid. Of course, whenever the first bottle is empty, switch to the second bottle and continue. Now have a little common sense here, guys. Don't squeeze the bottle too hard, and yes, your arms will get tired from holding the bottle. You want to fill the housing until fluid begins to seep from the factory fill plug, or you have put 1.5 quarts in a 7.5 rear end or 2 quarts into an 8.8 rear end. Reinstall and retighten the factory fill plug. For added insurance, apply a Teflon-based sealer to the fill plug in the cover and then retighten it as well. Go ahead and reinstall any component that you may have removed for additional workroom. Use this time to check over your work. You can then get the car on the ground and then you're good to go. Installing a differential cover, well, it's a lot easier than you think. Like most things, take your time and pay attention to what it is that you're doing and you'll be good to go. Of course, to see more how-to and review videos covering industry-leading products, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Like and share this video, and don't forget to turn on notifications. That way you're notified every time we release new content. Don't forget to check out our other videos, and for all things 1979 and present Mustang and SVT Lightning, keep it right here with the real enthusiasts, LMR.com.